Welcome to a very special presentation of Live from the Artisan Studio, which we have entitled From Kernel to Crown. Tonight, we're going to learn about a special theater piece that is going from the Midwest to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. How does that happen? We'll find out.
So how did we end up doing this play written by an author from California, directed by a director from New York, but completely produced here in Iowa? Well, it all started with this gentleman. This is Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, and his song, We're Not Gonna Take It, was an anthem of my youth. I say youth, but I was actually a teenager at the time. It also came to pass because of this particular group. This fine group of people, this is Poison. This young lady, Pat Benatar, who was a budding opera star and then became a rock star of her own right. She won the Grammy Award for Best Female Rock Star for a record 13 years in a row until Lita Ford won it, and then she went back to winning it for 5 more years. All of these songs came out in the 80s and were referred to somewhat pejoratively as hair metal songs. And I think you can probably understand, looking at their pictures, why it was called hair metal. There was a Broadway show called Mamma Mia, which incorporated the songs of ABBA and was an enormous hit. And the person that owned the rights to the 80s hair metal catalog thought, wouldn't that make a great musical? And that's where this lady enters. Her name is Kristin Hanggi. She was approached by these people. She had created a stage show and launched the career of a group called the Pussycat Dolls, and had done an off-Broadway show called Bear, and had toured both of those shows on the Sunset Strip in Los Angeles, taking over bar spaces to create this hybrid of theater and music. And this producer came to her and said, I have the rights to all these songs. What do you think we could do with them? And she had an idea of this young person from Michigan and another young person from Kansas who meet in the 80s on the Sunset Strip and have adventures therein. She hired a book writer, and that became the musical Rock of Ages, that went on to be nominated for 7 Tony Awards, 4 Olivier Awards, and was eventually turned into a movie that received no Oscar nominations whatsoever. But it's a delightful, delightful musical. And 2 years ago, in the summer, Theater Cedar Rapids downtown put on a production of Rock of Ages. And I was given the opportunity to direct that production. Ms. Hanggi went to college with the librarian at the Cedar Rapids Public Library. And her friend, the librarian, talked to the managing director at Theater Cedar Rapids and said, what if we pulled together some money and have my friend from college come out and do some workshops around Rock of Ages and some workshops around turning novels into films, which is the other thing she does, among the other 90 things that she does. And she came and saw the show. She gave a talk back afterwards. She hosted a workshop with some of us in the directing community here. And the managing director from Theater Cedar Rapids, her husband, Kevin Hallman, asked Ms. Hanggi if she had a play that she would want to read here in Cedar Rapids while she's here. And she said, well, yes, I have a play that I'd like to read. That's where this gentleman comes in. This is Rob Bell. In 2011, Time magazine published its most influential people in the world, the 100 most influential people. And just before that, Mr. Bell had published his book, Love Wins, which had caused an uproar in the conservative Christian fundamentalist churches by suggesting perhaps that their over-focus on hell is not scripturally based. And that resulted in a somewhat quiet revolution and schism within a variety of denominations. So he ended up on this list of the 100 most influential people in 2011. But he had written over 11 best-selling New York Times best-selling novels novels and nonfiction works since then, and had just written and published his first play, which is called "We'll Get Back to You." During the pandemic, there was one reading online that was not attended by anyone outside of the reading, just to see how it sounded. And Kristin and Rob tell us that they thought they had this very serious, contemplative play that would leave audiences thoughtful and weeping. And then they came to Cedar Rapids. He heard that we were doing the reading, so he flew himself out. And we had this reading at Mirrorbox, and this is the cast of that reading, and you'll recognize some people on our couch today. We had one day of rehearsal with Kristin, and then the next day we did the reading for the Mirrorbox audience, and it was broadcast out on their Facebook Live feed at the same time. And it was pretty remarkable. So this is when Caroline and Jessica joined the story. Talk to us a little about the reading.
You go for it.
Sure. So I had, so Mirrorbox had put out the notice saying, we're doing this reading. If you're interested, just reach out and let us know. And I was like, well, that sounds like fun. I don't have a lot going on right now. So I just kind of threw my name out there. I was like, if you could use me, if you need me, let me know. And Chelsea reached out to me and said, actually, we'd really like you to play Viva, who was one of the main characters of the show. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I thought was happening. But I said yes, and I went to the reading, and there was a real lovely chemistry in the room, even as we were reading it that first night without any audience there. And Kristin, as the director, was just so kind and generous with her time. You bring in this woman with the resume that Chris just talked about, and she really took the time to get to know us all and talk with us and find out what we were like and what we were interested in, even before we cracked the script. So there was already this kind of lovely moment of understanding that we were doing something very personal, even in reading this brand new script, and we were putting ourselves and investing ourselves in this opportunity. And then the next night when we went to read, okay, so we do a lot of theater in this area, and sometimes it's just people you know out there. It's a lot of theater friends that come and see your small little pieces. Not everything can be a giant TCR Rock of Ages musical. Sometimes when we're doing these smaller things, 85% of the audience, and the other 15% know your castmates. Yeah. But that night was really kind of amazing because there were all these people there who knew of Rob. And that was really fascinating to see someone with this kind of almost global pull coming to see this because they knew Rob Bell. And so you had this lovely mix of theater people and church people in the same space. And that was kind of an unusual mix of people. But they were all enraptured by what we were saying and the relationships we were telling. And we had books in hand. There wasn't a lot of staging. We were just sitting and reading. But the feeling in the room that night was that we were at something special, that something really interesting was happening in that room, because it drew a lot of people who would not usually be in the same room together into the same room, sharing this story and having very honest, authentic responses to what was happening in front of them. So that was kind of my experience. And it was just a joy to say the words and to share the stage with my castmates. So speaking of castmates, I'll turn it to you.
Very similar story. So Carrie Posdal, who was on the board of directors at the time at Mirrorbox, reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like you to come in and play Connie in this show. And I was just like, okay, great. This is a staged reading. I love these. This is what I've done for a lot of my career. And my father, who is a scientist and also went to seminary, said to me, is this Rob Bell, like the Rob Bell? And I was like, I don't know who that is. And he goes into, and not too long a story, but he goes into a very quick story about how my aunt and uncle, who were incredibly conservative Christian and fundamentalist, and that Rob Bell was very important to their sort of specific deconstructing of their faith, and talked to me a little bit about who Rob was and how he used to be a pastor and all these things. I'm like, okay, great. He wrote a play. and I'm going to read it. and it was fascinating because, like Jess, he was in the room with us from the beginning and it just was so sweet, so open, so present, and you could tell instantly why people listened to what he was saying. But he was so geeked out by his words being said aloud, and he didn't know who any of these characters really were until he heard them. And it was so cool to see someone who is such an expert in so many things and has this very fascinating career go, this was so cool. I didn't know this is what theater did. Like, it just was such a dork and so awesome and just so open about it. Just like, this was awesome. I didn't know this was funny.
Right?
We didn't know, Kristin and him were like, we didn't know this was funny. We didn't know how these lines were gonna land. So we're all experiencing together in this space with this audience, this magical moment of all this happening, and Rob just discovering, oh, I didn't know that was gonna get a laugh. Okay. And it's not often that you get to have that sort of naivete and glee from a playwright who's in the space with you. And he was just so open about collaboration. And yeah, it was a feeling that we were doing something really cool and fun. Yeah, fun.
And it was really fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I got a call from Caven, an email actually, and I don't get cast in a lot of things because even though genetically I'm identical to Keanu Reeves, he and I have a different trajectory in our lives. We'd like to share a little bit of that magic with you right now, if we could. So we're going to read the first scene of the play. And to set up what this play is about and give you an idea of what the stakes are. So very quickly, I'll explain the characters a touch, just a bit. Jessica is playing a woman named Viva. She starts the play alone on stage. There are 6 rolling chairs around a conference room. We are in a what looks like was maybe decorated in the 2000s conference room. There are video monitors around, and there are 2 doors. I come in through one, and later Connie and Claude will come in through the other one at various times. The 3 of us are co-workers, and that's probably all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give it a go,
Yeah,
shall
let's
we?
give it a go.
And some of us have not looked at the script since April, so we'll be cheating.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah,
We do know our lines.
we do.
And we will know our lines.
But they're just not in the right brain cell right now.
Yeah.
It's all good. So I will say that for the 3 of us, this is the 3rd time. This is the 4th time we're coming back to this material,
Yeah.
which we're very excited. We'll get to that part of the story in just a moment.
Yeah.
All right. So the lights come up on Viva sitting by herself, and Todd comes bursting on the scene. Hello. So sorry to keep you waiting. I just do not know what happened here. I don't know how things go. This is not how we do things normally. Totally, we are usually on top of it. But wait. Here I go again, skipping over the basics. I'm Todd Klosser with Human Resources. Actually, I'm originally with Finance, but for now I'm a temporary interdepartmental liaison to HR. It's all part of this Connections initiative. I don't know why I made those air quotes. It must be all this restructuring. I did it again. Sometimes with all this change, you get used to change as being the only thing that stays the same. Oh, but enough about me and my dilly and dallying. We just kept you waiting. I apologize for that. Ordinarily, I am Captain Punctual, reporting for duty. Okay, so, right, let's see here. Viva. Is that 2 names? Is it
Todd?
one name?
Help me to understand. We have a joint 11 o'clock, and I find out about it at 10:57.
No, I would never subvert the protocols. I got the email at the same time that you did.
Hello, I'm Connie McDougall again, Department Head for Employee Relations, currently serving as co-liaison with the Interdepartmental HR Liaison,
That would be me.
who reports to me on all matters regarding prospective contractual issues. Now, I hope that clears everything up. I would hate for you to think this is how we conduct ourselves. I hope you haven't been waiting long.
Oh, no worries. I was just...
No, we were just starting here at the top with her name.
Yes, Todd, I can see that. So, Viva, am I pronouncing this correctly?
Yes, Viva. It is a pleasure to meet you both.
Yeah, Viva, like one word. Like that's a real head spinner because you're looking at it and you're thinking your first name is V and your last name is Va.
Yeah, you can thank, well, I can thank my dad for that. Well, when I was born, he was obsessed with this idea that if you have a one-word name, how can you not do something great with your life? Well, it was the 80s. I mean, you remember those, right? You know, Prince, Madonna, Cher, Sting.
Mork, Yanni.
Well, sure, yes, there you go. And so he figured if he legally gave me V as my first name and Va as my last name, people would pronounce it.
Viva.
So, Va isn't your family name?
No. My dad's name was Maurice Borelson Monctavius. He used to say to me, Viva, your name means life. I named you this because you are destined for a life of greatness. Of course, he stopped using that word after my second DUI.
Oh, gosh, I thought you said DUI there for a second.
I did.
I don't see anything here about your DUI. You said there were 2 of them?
Yes. Oh, there was a DWI in there as well, and a little public disturbance incident.
Well, we'll have to circle back to that, won't we? Now, normally I would have had a chance to go through all of this, but as you know, I'm seeing it all for the first time. Yes, under job qualifications, you wrote, I got sick with viral meningitis in my early 20s, but it was only for a week or 2.
I did.
I'm sorry, I don't understand why you would list getting viral meningitis as qualifications for a job.
That's not obvious? Oh, because what happens is the fluid in your head gets infected and it swells up and it squeezes your brain against the walls of your skull. You think you're going to die. It is unbearably painful. And every single person I've ever met who's had viral meningitis says the exact same thing. You think you're going to die, but then you don't. Yeah, you don't die. You live.
And then what?
Yes. Exactly, well said. And then what? You thought your life was over, but it wasn't. It isn't. You're still here. You survived it. You are here and you are breathing and you're alive and your brain doesn't hurt. You've been given your life all over again. Now, what are you going to do?
And you think this experience you had prepared you in some way for employment?
Employment? It prepared me for everything.
Okay, well, moving right along then. I'm reading here. I see a shooting star at least once a month. Can you explain how you see this as a qualification for a job?
Sure. You know, I didn't realize this until recently when my friend Simone texted me all excited because she had just seen a shooting star. And I responded, well, why are you texting me this? And she said, because they're so rare. And I was thinking to myself, well, I see them all the time. But I did not tell her that because that would be such a buzzkill.
But that is not a qualification for a job.
Well, shooting stars are real, right? Scientifically verifiable and all that, yes?
Go on.
But a shooting star is also magic. God, your heart skips a beat. It is gone in an instant, and yet it lingers somewhere in your soul. A shooting star is like a reminder. Hey, it's good to be you. It is good to be alive. But you can't study that. You can't prove that in a lab. It's as if that happens somewhere else in you. A shooting star is science, but it's also magic at the same time. It seems to me like most of the problems in our world come from people choosing one or the other. And I would like to think that you would want people working at your company who embrace both.
Viva, I'm going to explain to you how we do things here. We have a process for how we interview people when they apply for a job. It is called our Vision 360 process because we believe that everyone who applies should be thoroughly and fairly considered. Now, it is an extensive process. And should you choose to continue, you will be here for the next hour and 15 minutes. You will meet with a number of departments who will ask you very specific questions about your employment history. There is a schedule, a procedure, and we stick to it. Should you choose to continue with this rigorous process, we will have a better idea of who you are and whether or not we think you will be a good fit. And then your final interview will be with Rick Blizzard, our interim CEO.
Oh, actually, Connie, technically he's the acting temporary CEO.
Actually, Todd, check your email. His title has just been recalibrated from interim CEO to provisional managing director, so you try to keep up. And while you're at it, I will take it from here.
Viva, quick question. What made you want to apply for a job here at this company?
Here. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what you do here.
Wait, what?
Excuse me?
I ran out of gas.
You ran out of gas?
Yeah, totally unexpectedly. Okay, I woke up this morning realizing I need a job. So I decided to go out driving and see if a job would present itself to me. Because sometimes you just have to let your heart lead you. Am I right or am I right? So I am driving down that street right out there when my car quits. I look down and I see the gas lights on. Who knows how long that has been on, as I am coasting into your parking lot. So I'm standing there trying to figure out what to do, and it starts to rain. I run into your lobby, and I'm just sitting there waiting for the rain to let up, when all of a sudden I see that sign in your lobby that says, "If you are here for an interview, please check in at the front desk." Ah! So I walk up to the front desk and I ask, "Well, who interviews people for jobs here?" And the man at the desk said, "Well, that would be Todd and Connie." So I said, "Would you please let them know that I am here for an interview?" God, he was so helpful. He asked me, "Well, do they have your resume?" And I hadn't really thought about that. So I asked him for a piece of paper and a pen, and then I wrote it all out, and he offered to type it up for me. God, he really was so helpful. Did I already mention that?
So you don't have a specific job you're applying for?
Oh, and I also included on the back there some people you could call if you wanted to ask about me. I thought that would be a good little helpful addition to make.
Well, yes, you did. How thoughtful.
Yeah.
What is going on here? What is this? Shooting stars? Who knows what kind of unlawful activity? You followed your heart and you ran out of gas. This is not how it works. Who are you? And what have you come to do to us?
Todd, leave now. I apologize for that disruption. It will be dealt with accordingly. Now, as Todd and I are looking through your references, you will have your first official standards and procedures interview with one of our longest serving employees, Mr. Claude Horst.
Greetings, Connie.
Hello, Claude. Claude, this is Viva. Viva, this is Claude. Claude will be exploring your proficiencies and performance diagnostics, looking for the usual ethos and alignment indicators. It is very straightforward.
Hello. The following questions are required by the state to ensure compliance across all sectors. Do you have a Class C driver's license?
No.
Are you Code 9 insured?
Maybe code 6 or 7?
Have you ever been employed by the state of Texas?
Donkey balls?
Are you currently or have you been in the past associated with any known terrorist organizations?
I once test drove a Tesla.
Have you in the past or are you currently...
Ring, 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 ring. Oh, hello? You are? Oh, yeah, sure, baby. Hey, this'll just take a second. Yeah, you see that big green rope? Yeah, the one hanging by the knives. Take one end down and wrap it around the appendage, but keep it away from her teeth. Okay, first you got to take off all the feathers and then wipe away any of that purple runny liquid and don't get any on your shirt. We did 8 how many? Well, I guess you are just going to have to stick your hand in the opening and reach around in there. And then once you get a good grip on it, you yank hard and do not let go no matter how hard she bites down on the tip of it. Yeah, that should do it. Okay. Yeah, love you too. Bye. Kids.
Thank you for taking time to answer my questions. We're grateful for this additional information as it greatly helps us in the evaluation process. This has been your first official interview in the Vision 360 process. The next step is the second step, which is next.
Oh, wait. Stop, please. Just one question. When do I get to interview?
That was the interview.
No.
The first one,
No,
at least.
I mean my part of the interview. When do I get to interview?
You just were.
No, but you asked me questions. When do I get to ask you questions?
Why would you do that?
Well, how else would I know if this is a good place for me if I don't interview you?
Ma'am, be serious. Oh, I get it. I come in and I read a list of questions that bore me just as much as they bore you, and so you try and bring a little life to the situation and breathe a little life into the workplace. I've seen it 1,000 times. It doesn't work. This machine works in a very specific way, and you have no chance.
And that's the first scene.
Terrifying.
So the next thing that happened is time passed. About 4 to 6 weeks after the reading, and we sort of like thought this was this wonderful thing that happened. It'll be interesting to see whatever happens of the play. We at our house we ordered 9 of Rob's books and took to reading them that summer. And then I was sitting in my car and I got a call from Kristin and Caven on a joint conversation, and they asked if we would produce the play, if we did a full production of it at Mirrorbox that next spring. And so Patrick and I talked a bit, and we talked about what an undertaking that would be, and we consulted with some friends of ours who are more experienced national producers than we are, meaning they have some. And they explained some things that we should do, and they connected us with a fancy law firm in New York, and they drew up the contracts, and we said yes, and we were off and running. And one of the first things we did was we got a stage manager. And for those of you that are not theater people, a stage manager is a combination office manager, parent, hostage negotiator, and counterterrorism expert, all wrapped into the body of a smiling, pleasant individual. And our stage manager is Kelly, and we couldn't do it without her.
Bravo.
Yep.
True.
Can you tell us a little bit about coming on board this interesting ship? Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I was able to, in my midlife of life, get started stage managing. That happened. I had a circuitous route there. It started with started as a journalist back in the day, and then I wrote some plays that were produced at Theater Cedar Rapids Underground Festival many years ago. and then just kind of lurked around the theater scene, and then ran a middle school drama program where I learned it's like that. Everything you need to know you learned in kindergarten. Well, everything you really, really need to know you will learn at a middle school, because that place, it was a huge learning experience. And I was very, very fortunate, because then some wonderful mentors at Theater Cedar Rapids saw that those skills would, I could also work with grown-ups. So kind of switched over. And this all kind of happened during and after the pandemic. And I worked on some projects with Mirrorbox Theater during the pandemic. Then meanwhile, in the fall of 2023, I was working with Patrick DuLaney, who was directing The Woman in Black at Theater Cedar Rapids, and he said, "Hey, we've got this really cool opportunity for the next spring. Would you like to join us?" And I'm, of course, yes, because I'd worked with Patrick before, and I'd been in a writing group with Chris before that, and yeah, so we just it's still surreal, this opportunity to work with Kristin and Rob, and I don't know, what else do you want to hear how the production got started in?
Oh,
in
we'll get to
Cedar
that in
Rapids?
just
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
moment.
yeah.
No, I was curious in
Yeah.
explaining who you are, what you did beautifully.
Yeah.
And then also like what the initial ask was of you. Yeah. And
Yeah, it was just basically, stage managing this show that will be at Mirrorbox. And I was familiar with Mirrorbox and Cave-In. And and I got my hands on the script, read it, and it was, I love a workplace setting. I just think the workplace is just really just so ripe for just really like experimenting with all these different relationships and exploring things. And it's such a fake place, and I just love the idea of revealing what's really going on at a workplace. Largely this is because I've been a freelancer for really my whole career. So every workplace I go into, I'm like, what's going on? What's really going on? So
whose lunch is that
yeah. Yeah. So, but the one lovely thing about being a stage manager at Theater Cedar Rapids is I have a framework, I have checklists, and it really does, it applied to this too. And that was a really wonderful thing. Then I got to meet, I had a Zoom with Kristin Hanggi, and she really just kind of asked me the same question, and I gave that same answer. We had this almost the same conversation, what I just said, and what did I like about stage managing, and so she approved of me. And she's just been amazing to work with. Just such a huge soul, and the way she brings everyone together, and in the rehearsal room. And we just started in the usual way of emailing everyone, getting the info together, making sure, a lot of it is, I just believe that you need to have a strong framework. Then you can be creative within that framework because you trust that there's scaffolding for your project. That's basically what I feel like I bring to it, and then all the other soft skills that you mentioned before.
Well, and one hard skill that you had in this particular play, because and one that we don't often have in this area, is we had a script that was in flux all the time, because it's a new play with a living playwright that was coming to visit. So I went through the various online Dropboxes and Google documents that we have on how many versions of the script have existed, and we'll talk a little bit about that journey in a bit. But Kelly kept everything together, especially in between the months in between, so that all the changes could be tracked and kept moving forward.
Right. That was one of my most favorite moments of the whole process, is where Rob Bell gave me the title of script supervisor. Very informally, he's just like, "Here's Kelly, our script supervisor." And it's just because I'm the one who hears it over and over and over, and I'm sitting there with the script, as I'm not on my feet, of course, as the actors are. I will deputize Jess, though, because so it was really a matter of taking these. We changed the script a lot, and we just constantly kept track of the changes, of course. So, but then I would just do another version with another batch of changes and share it with Rob and Kristin and everyone. And Rob was extremely generous with that. He just said, I trust you all as a group, and yeah, whatever you need to do. You can talk more about the logistics of that too.
We will. So one of the things that happened soon after Kelly came on board is that we needed to get a cast that would be able to do the production, and not all of the people that did the reading were able to do that. And they actually had us all re-audition again for Kristin, and so that's when Ron and Saffron joined our group, and so Ron came on for the first production. What was it like joining something sort of in process? And
Well, it was. I knew it was good. I loved the script when I read it, and I joined the rehearsals a day late. I had a previous commitment, so I had to come in a day late, and I felt like I was behind already. But I was welcomed, with warmth and joy, and people clearly respected me and felt good about having me there, as I did all of them. I knew almost everybody in the company, which was nice. I've been doing this a long time, and so it was exciting to work with fresh eyes. Though Kristin had a whole new take to me. I'm a character guy, and a lot of times as a character actor, you get kind of pigeonholed and you have a certain way of doing things. And she challenged me and said, why that choice? Why not this choice? And made me rethink preconceptions, and made me really invent a life for this character, who you saw about one half of two dimensions of him. He has a fascinating journey in the play. And to have that opportunity every night to go on that journey of Claude's with these beautiful people was a great joy. And Patrick DuLaney approached me with the script and said, I think you could do this. You could do this. I had been unofficially retired from acting for about a year, because I'm 75. I'll be 75 in August. Yeah, I'll be 75 in August. And it gets hard. It gets hard, pounding lines into your head 10 times harder than it was when I was in my 40s. But he really believed in me. Kristin believed in me. The whole company believed in me. And I thought, with this much love and support, I dare not let people down. And so I jumped in, and it has been just a joyful, joyful ride. And now we're getting ready to go to Scotland. Lucky us.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Ron is one of the founders of Riverside Theater in Iowa City. He and his wife Jody and a third individual,
Bruce Wheaton.
Bruce Wheaton, founded it and turned it into launched the Shakespeare Festival in the summer. Created the space in Gilbert Street that then was able to move to the Pet Mall, and is one of the only existing equity theaters in Iowa that has consistently been running these for decades.
45 years.
45 years, yes.
I was 12 when we started.
It's too late now, Ron. It's too late now.
I'm a terrible liar.
So I'd like to comment just a little bit on actors' equity in general. So in our company, when we did, and an acknowledgement to the actors that had done the reading with us, who were absolutely wonderful. David and Angelique were lovely, absolutely lovely. And when all of the auditioning came out, we ended up, things shifted a bit, and we added Saffron and Ron, both of whom are members of Actors Equity, which is the union of theater actors and stage managers in the United States. And that counts for a considerable amount. They put their stamp on these people and say, these are professionals. Occasionally people have the misunderstanding that in Iowa, that people that have a designation as having actors equity status and are members have an easier time getting jobs. And that is the 100% the opposite, in that if Ron wants to appear in a play, he must appear with an equity contract. So, and I remember talking to a friend of ours, Kristin DeGrazia, and she was imagining if her daughter, if she wanted to appear in a play with her daughter, that company would have to hire her as an equity member. She couldn't do it simply out of the goodness of her heart. Of course, there's ways to make things easier, and we've had lots of generous actors in the area that are very helpful in doing so, but we have to go through that process. And that process is a professional contract. For a company like ours, it requires us hiring a paymaster, which sounds dirty, but isn't. But is essentially someone that takes care of the money and makes sure that it is held in reserve and distributed appropriately, and also pays for the workers' compensation fees and other things that we don't carry as a company as a general rule. And that in Iowa are not available. In other states, they are available for fee-for-service contracts. So we go through a paymaster. The paymaster issues all the checks. It all results in about 150% of the cost of just the salary ends up being spent. So it is an additional cost and additional effort. But we end up with people like Ron and Saffron in our company. And then it also required us to follow all of the professional guidelines, which we intended to do anyway, and it allowed us to have all the reasons to be as professional as we possibly could.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please do.
I do have to give huge kudos to Crooked Path Theater for choosing to invest in their performers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That is hugely appreciated and felt, that you believe so much in the process and the project and the cast, that you were investing resources in that and doing things in a very professional manner. And so I want to I think I'm speaking for many of us here.
Oh, yeah.
When that's seen and appreciated and clearly resulted in a product of such a quality that can make this leap across the pond.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to, most of the theater that we see in the area is compensated by applause and opportunity, not necessarily by money. And we love applause and opportunity as much as anyone. But we also understand that we have people that are driving distance, that are foregoing other opportunities, they're taking away from their family and other obligations and joys in order to do this. And we do our best to try to compensate people in what can be a fair way.
And if I can just jump in, I would say that it's also a misunderstanding, particularly in this country, that the arts are undervalued. And I studied for years. I got my Master of Fine Arts degree. I've been doing this for 50 years, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect to be compensated for my expertise and my skills. And Chris, these guys are fabulous to work for. But, it's the old story. How does a lawyer justify charging you $250 an hour? You're not paying him $250 an hour. You're paying her or him for all the experience that they have of how to make the world work. I like to think that as a professional, I have some skill and some ability to jump in and say, this is an honest portrayal. So, thank you.
And when we did it is a budgeting issue, but it's also the other half of it is we get quality.
I hope so.
Yeah. We're very happy with the choices we made. We had our cast all together, and then at the same time as we were building the cast, one of the interesting things about producing something here in Cedar Rapids and in Iowa City is the enormous wealth of technical staff that is available here. Absolutely crazy. And so I just want to walk through just a little bit of the resumes of some of the people that worked on this show. So this is Abigail Mansfield Coleman. At the time that we started the show, she was the the resident costume designer and professor of costume education at the Iowa Conservatory, the Performing Arts High School in Iowa City. And we had gotten to know her and really, really liked her work, and she was very interested in doing this. So one of the special things that happens with a costume designer is that the clothes that you're giving help bring dimension and tactile feeling to who you are. Saffron Hinkie, who could not be with us tonight, the two different outfits that she had for her character forced her to hold a specific pose that informed the character. And between the two productions, some of us changed various things because our understanding of the character changed, and Abigail was right there with us. So let me just give you a look at some of the things that she brought out for us. This is from Ron in his wonderful green sweater. Mhm.
It almost fits.
Yes. She put me in horizontal stripes and I didn't hate it. This is Saffron's original costume that had like this corseting thing going on. You had the leather jacket piece that is, yep. And in these pictures, you can see a little bit of some of other design elements that we'll see in a second. This is Scott Olinger, who's our lighting designer. Scott is a professor of theater at Cornell. In fact, on this particular show, we have 5/7 of the theater department at Cornell is
We're
working
all
on our show,
represented.
which is kind of awesome.
We're all going to Scotland
And
together.
all
It's
good stuff.
crazy.
And I should say, Cornell is actually financially supporting the production.
Yes,
to
they
go,
are.
which is so
Yep.
really wonderful,
Yep,
wonderful,
it's
wonderful.
incredible.
So Scott is lighting designer. He's worked a lot at Theater Cedar Rapids. He is the lighting designer for the Pork Tornadoes. But also, I think people out of Cedar Rapids know his resume more than people in Cedar Rapids. He works across the country doing opera, doing rock shows, doing theater, really all over the place, and is constantly in demand. This is Kristin Olinger. They are related. They're married to each other, who is one of the most gifted video and graphic creators. She created the logo for the show, and then made the logo do amazing things. In addition to creating all of the video content throughout the whole evening, including this is going on video, a completely legal filming at a parking ramp in Cedar Rapids of Jessica beating Patrick, but that's a whole nother story.
My live stream.
It was absolutely
Highlight
beautiful.
of the show every night is getting to watch that.
And in addition to being on staff at the Iowa Conservatory, she is also in demand as a content creator for a variety of things, and lighting and scenic designer as well. This is Sean Ketchum Johnson, who in real life is a musician, artist, Renaissance human being, and specializes in sound and in sound productions in particular. And I wanted to highlight a little bit about, because even if you came to see our show, you may not have appreciated all of the sound that occurred. So I actually have an example of what he did. So for this show, we had lots of fancy things. And one of the things is we had someone compose a score for the sections between pieces. Every time an actor opens a door, you hear the office sounds, and sometimes they're scored and sometimes they're not. And the people that scored the piece are a real life rock band. This is the track she composed for the opening of the show.
Backstage dancing ensues. Doesn't this sound like a pleasant place to go to work?
Okay, so that's her version. This is Sean's version. Oops, excuse me. He layered some things in. Whoops.
Michael just wants up there.
Michael really, really, really wants to be part of this.
We need Sean.
We need Sean to make my slides go. Oh, golly. Here we go. So he cranked up the bass. He added the sound of phones.
Now this does sound like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also added extra reverb on the drums, so it actually has a bass. He ran it through 9 speakers that surrounded the audience, and us.
And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Love it.
I think that gives the idea.
The end's a shredder.
Yeah,
The end is a shredder just before. Yep, we come on. It really was a joy to be backstage dancing to that nightmarish hot music. And then in fact we enjoyed the backstage dancing so much that for the second production, Kristin had us do it on stage instead of backstage. She built it in. This is Michael Fitzgerald. He is one of the designers that Kristin brought along. She and he went to college together. He has a pretty extensive, kind of super fancy resume. What the job of a set person on a film is to fill the frame with as many things that are necessary for the actors and the production. And one thing that I learned from him, and I think we all learned from him, he created this space for us at one point with all of these things that are behind us. And all of the things were leftover stuff from years and years and years of this office building that we worked in. And everywhere you turn, you saw something else that communicated to you where you have been and what you have been doing. And so they give this sort of overall visual look, but even off of both sides of the visual plane, there were things that would connect with us and remind us who we were as human characters within the play. Like he just would go to thrift shops and everybody's prop closet. There are 17 active theaters in the corridor, and he went to probably 10 of their prop shops looking for stuff. And he and Kelly would put things in the back of a U-Haul.
Do you want me to?
Oh yeah, talk a little bit.
So basically Michael and I went around and filled up a U-Haul truck with like whatever we could find from different places. And I do want to give a shout out to Theater Cedar Rapids because
Yes.
they have like the mother of all prop warehouses and everything we grabbed was not going to be used in another show because it was like broken computers and like you can kind of see like ancient fans and just all kinds of strange objects. One place that we went to, I'd like to give a shout out to the Create Exchange. This is it's a thrift shop for craft supplies here in Cedar Rapids, which is it's not a very common business model, but people can bring their craft supplies in, and then you can go in there and just purchase like one feather if you need it. So it's really wonderful. Just locally owned business, and then he got some stuff from Kernel as well. But he took everything from that truck and just made a collage there. Mm-hmm.
And I think every night of our run, I saw something different.
Yeah.
that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
So all of these people coming together to create something that has this cohesive hold over it. And the idea that our director had was that there are certain times in the play where people's thoughts begin to warp the space around them. And you go on what she referred to as these arias of ideas and begin to see people's thoughts projected on the set or in the video situations. And we begin escaping from this office area, and then we'd be dropped back in again. All right. So we had the night of our first reading. This is Kelly on book, getting it ready to go, which was a pretty remarkable time. Shout out to Cornell College, Theater Cedar Rapids, and the Nolte Academy who gave us full run of the things we needed. Pretty remarkable. Oop. And then, so at the end of the run, we had really good response here in Cedar Rapids, like really good response. We expected people would like it. We liked it. We'd like to think that we have some taste. But audiences really had a really good time with us. The next thing that happened is that production happened. And we thought, isn't that lovely? And so what are we going to do next? So we all went home and sort of thought about what we would do next. We did several other shows, and we had meetings with Kristin and Rob. We had a tiny bit of interest in moving it to Chicago. And then Patrick and Rob had the idea of, what if we took it to Edinburgh? Because at that particular moment, Edinburgh was in the news for a movie called Baby Reindeer, which had premiered at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and then was made into a Netflix film. And the Netflix film itself takes place partially at the Fringe. We're hoping to have a much better experience than the Baby Reindeer people do in the movie at the Edinburgh Fringe.
We don't want stalkers.
We don't want stalkers, and we also don't want audiences that walk out in the middle of the show. But the Edinburgh Fringe is the largest theater experience in the world. Jason pointed out is the third largest ticketed event in the world, behind the Olympics and the World Cup. 2.6 million tickets were sold last year during the month of August. We'd be happy with just 0.6 of those million. Some things that have come from the Edinburgh Fringe include Fleabag, Baby Reindeer, as I mentioned, and the musical Six, or most recently. But as back even into the 70s, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead premiered at the Edinburgh Fringe. Dozens and dozens and dozens of comics that are now household names, like Tim Minchin, launched themselves at the Edinburgh Fringe.
John Oliver.
John Oliver launched himself at the Edinburgh Fringe. Many people have taken shows there that have eventually ended up filmed or turned into other things. But it's also a place where your high school's production of, well, let's say Rock of Ages, that really went well, let's take it to the Fringe. And ironically, a reminder that Kristin, our directed Rock of Ages in our same theater later in the afternoon, is a high school production of Rock of Ages that has no idea she's going to be there, which is really exciting. We're so excited. In our theater itself, we are one of 11 shows running every day. We have 15 minutes to set up and 15 minutes to take down. So we said, all right, so if we get into the Fringe, we will need to do another production we had to hone it down to 90 minutes to fit a 90-minute slot. We sent off our application. Ordinarily, it takes 1 to 2 months before you hear anything. We heard back in less than a week. And we had 2 different theaters interested in us. We went with the one that had the best tech capabilities for us. We are going to travel to the Fringe with our costumes and our rolly chairs, and we're going to buy a folding table over there, and the rest of it is going to be projections, and we're going to try to make it work. But in order to get ready to go there, we needed to take a 100-minute show and drop it down to 90 minutes. And then we also needed to raise some more money. So we planned on going to the James Theater in Iowa City, who graciously gave us their 110-seat space. Our space in Scotland is 120 seats. It's roughly the same size, similar configuration. And we launched another production. We got ruthless with the script and took out things that were good, but maybe not essential, and streamlined some of the storytelling. Most of the people that saw it for a second time said they weren't sure exactly what we took out, but it just, yeah.
They also said, when did you put in all the politics?
Oh, right.
Which was fascinating because we haven't changed anything.
But the world had
But
changed.
the world had changed. To change presidency and to change the atmosphere of when we were performing the script that really hadn't, the only line that had changed is we had changed a line from a Hobby Lobby to test driving a Tesla. And that was the only shift. And it was fascinating. Even my parents who saw it, saw the reading and the first production, came to the net. I said, why did you add all the politics? I'm like, we didn't add anything.
If anything, we took stuff out because we were preparing for it to
Fringe.
travel overseas. So
Yeah.
we took out references that would we didn't think they had Hobby Lobby in Edinburgh, so we took out the Hobby Lobby reference. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about relearning a play that you've done before. Have you, any of you, I mean, had the opportunity to revisit?
I've done a few remounts, and it is like falling in love again, you know, or going to a friend's house in a different, you know, to a friend's summer home, you know, where you know what's central to the experience. You know the people that are there, but everything is new in a way, you know. And I love the people that I work with here. And so to have the opportunity to put the play up at the James Theater, which was, before it was the James, was Riverside Theater, which was our home base. So as Chris once commented, that building has my DNA all over it. And to
Literal skin cells of Ron Clark
I'm
exist
sure
there all
there
the
are.
time.
I'm sure there are. But to have the chance then to bring a play back to life, it's you know, love is lovelier the second time around, and that's what it felt like to me. I've had probably 3 or 4, I don't know more than that, Ron, experiences of doing this, and it's always richer and more joyful if the product is good to begin with. And this is an excellent product to work on.
One thing we did in coming at it is we tried to look at it with as fresh eyes as we possibly could. The designers all came back and redesigned things that they wanted to redesign, and having the time to look back with some 2020 vision. Everything changed a bit. Everything got a little bit tighter. We start rehearsals in 2.5 weeks for our run there.
Fourth time.
For our fourth version. This is pictures of the James version with slightly different costumes that you can see, or in Saffron's case, majorly different costumes.
I got a tie.
You got a Ron got a tie.
Mine didn't
That's actually
change at all.
yeah.
Ascot. I got the ascot, yes, and I wore earrings.
Yes.
That was about it.
And this is our new poster for when we go there. The poster art is actually by a friend of Rob's who works for a corporation represented by a fruit, and does graphic design for them. And we are very fortunate to have him on board. And this is our Fringe poster with the location. We're at the Paradise Paradise at the Sanctuary, and it's because we're literally performing in a sanctuary. We can't have a performance on Sunday because church. But the other days we'll be there. We open on the 2nd of August and we go through the 9th, and we already have 2 confirmed reviewers coming to it. And
How many of you will be in Scotland during that time?
Great if you could make it.
it's I was gonna say all-time low ticket sales right now. Our airline fare is not bad at all. So if you come over, we have 1 spare couch left. Yeah, that's good. Tell us a little bit more about this experience and how it has been for you, and what we're looking forward to when we go, or what you are.
So it's been surreal. I think that's the best way I have to explain it. What went from one night of like, sure, I can do this, I'm not busy, has turned into busy for 2 years, which is unique. I feel this was never on my bingo card that I'd be going to Edinburgh and performing. And it's just every step along the way, though, feels like this wonderful opportunity I just tripped and lucked into. The cast, as Ron was saying, they've all been just lovely to work with. It's been a really, I do enough shows that by the end of every show, I'm like, cool, I'm done with that one. And it's not in a like dismissive, I don't want to do that anymore, but like I plan just enough time, I have just enough energy to get through this show, and then I've got to get back to my real life. This was a show that it was hard to say goodbye to after the first close, after the first run. It was like, oh, I could keep doing this one. And so what a lovely opportunity to keep having that happen. And so the opportunities that just keep coming from this, it just feels like I hit the lottery on that. And to be able to travel with these fine folks and take this script abroad is really lucky. And my family's coming for part of it. They hired my husband on to be one of their 15-minute people to throw stuff up and take stuff down. He's a theater technician in the area.
We're lucky that most of our cast is either married to or in relationships with other theater people. So it worked out very well.
It does work out well. So, and then our kids are coming over for the latter part of the trip. So it's just like, it's, I don't use this word lightly, but it feels like a blessing. It feels like it's such an enriching thing in my life that I never saw coming. And that makes it all the more glorious and magical and miraculous, I think.
Yeah, ditto. I think getting to work with Kristin, I've been doing this a long time, and I've never worked with a director who is the actor whisperer. Like I'm a professor of theater, and I'm a director, and I'm an actor, so I know what it's like to work with a lot of different personalities. And especially as a director, trying to figure out what the vocab is for each performer, because we can be real jerks. We really can. Where actors can be real pain in the butts. So not that any of us were, but she was able. I've never seen anything like it, to watch her work and how she's able to tune in to what an actor needs to hear, or how to help them how to help facilitate what they're already trying to do, and the trust that she had in us. And I didn't think when I moved to the Midwest that I would have ever, I thought this chapter of my life was kind of done, to be able to go to Fringe. And that was the dream in my 20s and my early 30s. And so to get to do it in my 40s, and my husband coming along, being hired to come and help be a technician, it's just a gift. It's just an absolute gift. And again, something that I just feel really lucky to have been present for, and to have been a good fit.
Yeah.
I think that's really the nice part. Yeah.
I really have nothing to add to that. It has been quite remarkable. I'd like to hear if any questions or comments that you all have at this point about what
You guys saw
what
it.
this has
Even from the
been
cheap
like.
seats.
Yes, from the cheap seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are you hoping for? What's the thing that we can be hoping with you?
I love
So
that.
that's really a good question.
That's a great question.
So the sky is the limit. We are hoping for everything. We would like the world to see this play, and we would like this play to be seen by the world. And Patrick and I committed, when we took on the role, to do whatever we could so that people could see this play, and we would like to see it with the best possible people. We all have jobs that keep us here.
Not me.
So we don't know. We signed up for something called the Fringe Marketplace, which allows producers of theater from around the world, but particularly in the UK and in Europe in general, to see pieces of our production, to be invited to come see it, and then a breakdown of how they could potentially take our director's vision and the fingerprints we put all over it, and have it exist in other places. We'll see, but I don't think there's any reason to have a limit on our capacity to hope.
100%.
And I will say one other thing. We just today we had an interesting meeting, and today with an attorney that's helping us sort out next steps of things, and he asked how much money we had spent on, because we essentially have done one reading and 2 developmental productions, and we had to add everything up. And we told him. He said, if we had done this in New York or the West Coast, we would have spent, he said, you would easily have spent 5 to 10 times as much as you did. And you would have ended up with a product that wasn't as ready.
And that's what the word we want to get out is that this is a hotbed.
Yeah.
We have talent here. We have remarkable resources in all areas of theater. And so we're hoping that this kind of project is just a springboard for more and more. And I'm in Iowa City, and the City of Literature connection there is very rich as well. And so we're hoping that there can be more. Yeah.
I have to agree with you wholeheartedly on that point of view. I grew up in Indianapolis,
Mm-hmm.
where productions and music were a big part of it, and came out here to Cedar Rapids going, where am I going?
Mm.
And I have lived here now longer than I did in Indiana, but I long ago gave up the thought of going back because I can hear music, see productions, see art, buy art,
Mm-hmm.
dance, it doesn't matter what area you want to look into. I can do it all here and for a lot less.
Bingo. Thank you.
I've lived in about 8 different places as an adult, and yeah.
Ditto. I completely agree.
Oh, we're good. Go ahead.
Where's the funding? You said what happened? Because it takes money.
It does take money. Yep.
I want to talk in depth about this because part of the reason that we're taping this tonight is so that they have a sales tool, basically, so that they can go to potential investors or fans or whatever. And so that's kind of one of the ideas about tonight, not only to be informational, but then to use this recording that we're making as a tool for you. So I have one question before that, and that is, if people are out there that may watch this, some of this footage, and they think, well, we're a theater company. That sounds so cool. How do I get my show to the Fringe? Now, granted, the planets, it sounds like they were really aligned for you, the way that things kind of magically fell into place. But what is the criteria for a company to request to be in, to submit a show?
We have learned, I would say, all of us have learned so much about being in this as artists, as human beings, but also as like people who make theater in the world and trying to connect with other things. So anyone can go to the Fringe. Anyone can. But the trick is you have to find a theater that is interested in what you're doing. And so you apply to several theaters. Once you have a theater in place, then the theater then vouches for you to the Fringe Festival.
When you talk about theater, you're talking about
A
venues.
physical location.
Like a venue.
Yeah,
Physical
physical
venue.
location.
A venue wherever you are.
No,
Or
a venue,
a venue
in Scotland.
in Scotland. So you submit, and then they go through the submissions.
So you
and one of those theaters has to say,
take a look
this is
at
something
all
we
of
want to
the
present.
Fringe theaters, and there are many, and you look and see what would be best for us. Look at the things they've done before. They have pictures. They have little technical packets you can download and know how their lighting plot works and what will plug in and what won't. They even show you where all the plugs are. And then you look and say, okay, these 15 theaters would work for us. It's like applying for college.
Yep. That's what I've used.
In theory, anyone can go to college, but you have to find a college that will accept you. And then once you are accepted to college, you become part of the collegiate world. So in this case, you apply to all these theaters. Once a theater accepts you and you have a contract with them, then they vouch for you to the Fringe Festival itself, and you become part of the larger Fringe. Now, it is true that people that are locally can create a venue of their own and get it approved by the Fringe. Like there is a phone booth where it has a single audience member and a single performer. And you pay $10 and you get a 15-minute show in the phone booth.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your trip in general. How many of you are going, and how long are you staying?
So we are at 16 people. We are going to be there for 11 days. Yeah. And as I mentioned, many of the 16 people are partnered with other 16 people. And everyone is bringing a unique skill set to the event.
6 actors.
6 actors, one stage manager, which is barely enough. Our director is joining us. All of most of the designers are joining us, and they will be actually running the setup and teardown of the design elements.
I was going to ask how much tech you were taking. You said you're taking several of the props and your costumes.
And we are going to have a video thing similar to this that we're going to have on waiting for us when we get there. A table and all of our chairs. We're not bringing the table, we're bringing the chairs, we think, because it seems to fit in a suitcase, and hopefully won't be absconded by customs. So no illicit drugs in the chairs. And then we're going to use 3 projectors to project everything around the space to make that magic that people saw.
And they will be your hometown technicians that have done this before, that have rehearsed it, right? To keep it polished.
We are rehearsing at Kernel in a taped off space that's the size of what we have. We're going to rehearse the bringing it in and the bringing it out, and we're going to rehearse with all the new projections and getting it put all together. Yeah.
This is great. So, to your question, let's talk about funding.
Yeah.
Have some of these performances, have you been socking some of the money away, or are you actively seeking funds? And I promise this was not the intention of having you here. We're not going to pass the hat or whatever. But if people here or that may end up watching this promotional material, if they want to contribute, can you tell us how people can support you?
Yes. So to answer your question a little bit, 100% of the money that was generated from ticket sales went back into the production. The production was formed, and the contracts initially were with Crooked Path Theater, which is our for-profit wing, and then we launched a not-for-profit wing to which we intended to do anyway before we got this show and ended up down this interesting little rabbit direction. So in January of last year, we were granted a not-for-profit status to help the fundraising for the travel to Edinburgh in particular in this project. So we have a donation button on our website at crookedpaththeater.com. And all those donations have tax implications as allowed by law. If people are interested in buying into the production via the professional side of it, we are also looking at talking to people about how they could be investors in the show, and we'll have more information about that later in the fall in future iterations of how this goes. But what we found was in our area, because we don't yet have the pipeline of come to Iowa, develop your show, and move forward, of people who invest in this type of thing. So investing in a play is not something that people think about, but donating towards a play is something people do all the time and feel a strong connection to.
Isn't that right? It's kind of the same process that we're all accustomed to. Excuse me. It's the same process we're all accustomed to, but on a level up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, people have been so generous. And I mentioned Kernel, West Bank gave us money. Several people worked through their donor advised funds through their various assets that they hold to have money sent to us. And people have just been really excited and generous.
Well, don't you think part of that is people want a sense of ownership,
Yeah.
for one thing, and they want the bragging rights when you guys succeed and it goes somewhere else?
Oh, we're really thrilled to have launched this thing. Yeah. And one thing I'm really looking forward to is that in the published version of the script, it has the production history at the beginning. And I remember as a child reading them in English class and like looking at all the people who had played the parts and all of the productions that exist. And this production will be part of the inside of this play at some point. And somebody will wonder, they have theater in Cedar Rapids? And hopefully by then they'll say, they have theater in Cedar Rapids.
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, do you have a Facebook presence, a Facebook page?
We do.
Even if we couldn't contribute financially ourselves, we could go onto your Facebook page, share your posts, and try to help get it out there.
Please
Yeah,
do.
please share-
Crooked Path Theater is Crooked Path Productions on Facebook. We are, and on Instagram we are. We'll Get Back to You the play, and also Crooked Path Theater.
I'm going to ask you that one more time to make sure that we have it because we're going to want to put that on this film.
Yeah.
So if you could share your socials with us, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. So we're on Facebook. We're Crooked Path Productions. On Instagram, we're Crooked Path Theater, and also We'll Get Back to You the play. And we all of us are linked on all of them, and so please come join us. And if any of you are actors, we have auditions on Sunday. If you want to come do something with us, yes. Mhm.
Well, I think if that's it. Oh, you have something else? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need that necessarily. Hi.
Hi.
I just meant if you were going to
Hold it or
Yeah, if you hold it up.
I will hold it right up, I promise. Okay. My name is Brian. Hi. This was awesome, and primarily awesome because we live at Ellis Landings, which is a condominium building right down from Mirrorbox.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got an email from Mirrorbox because I signed up, and I'm like, this looks totally interesting. I have no idea what it is. And the reason I'm telling you this, because when it was over, I said something you can't publish, like, holy stuff. What the hell did I just see? This is incredible, right? We walked down the street and we saw this play. So thank you, because I was like, okay, where am I? Paris, London? No.
That's sweet.
I think the one thing that I've missed in the discussion is the message in the play.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are actors, so you don't want to give anything away ever. So you're even holding the character. And so if somebody could comment on what you personally experienced in the message of the play, because I thought it was incredibly well done. Pulls you in, aggravates you, taunts you a little bit, and then at the end you're like, oh, or whatever.
Yeah.
What was your response in your own words? I don't know, one or all of you, please.
You
That's
got
the
the
assignment.
line, Jen.
You got the lines.
Well, first of all, you're a wonderful commercial for us.
Yes,
you
thank
for
you so
that.
much.
Let's make sure we
That
get
was
some of that.
amazing.
But our next shirt will be, I walked down the street and saw something that made me say, holy stuff.
Where am I?
No, you.
So there's a line that we often pull out that says, you have to own every square inch of your life.
Yeah.
Or every square inch of your story. You have to own every square inch of your story. And I think that's a pretty important one in this. As the show goes and you learn more about Viva and she reveals things beyond just her criminal past, she reveals pretty vulnerable things. And in doing so, she pulls vulnerability from people who have put up walls in this office and are not being true to themselves anymore, authentic, because they feel like they can't. And I think her authenticity helps break that down for many other people. And I did tell Rob after the last production in Iowa City, I thanked him because I said, you wrote my favorite thing to do in theater, which is just to sit across the table from another person and listen to them and take in who they are and what they're giving you in the moment and respond to that as truthfully as I can. And I got the pleasure of doing that. I keep telling people it feels like sometimes I go into the boxing ring and I just sit down and they just send in different people to like have these conversations. And then there's this whole other thing where outside of Viva, they're in this other room, and you had a picture of it earlier, where they're connecting with each other in ways they've never done before. So for me, it is about that when we can live our truths, as messy as they might be, it encourages those around us to live their truth as well. And then you can see people for who they really are, which allows them to be who they want to become. And I think that's a really beautiful thing in this play.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Be sure to check the website. Are you going to keep updates on your website too? Are you going to have like a little blog or something on your
Maybe
trip?
you'll send postcards to the website.
Oh, that's a lovely.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That's a
Send
fun idea.
postcards.
Yeah, we're starting it all through June, all through July. We're doing a Friday update with so little video information from all of our cast and designers about what we're looking forward to, the things that we've experienced, and how that's going. We'll be doing a little montage every Friday, and then little bits of audience reaction throughout that time. If you have something that you'd like to add, feel free to add it. The more social buzz we get going in July, the more people will be interested in coming to see our show. So,
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for
Thank you
Bravo.
for joining us.
Well done.
I just have
Thank you,
one
my
more
friend.
one more clear shout out to say we really need to thank Mirror Box Theater for inviting us
Oh,
in
yeah.
the very first place.
Oh.
And having the whole and for making this invitation happen to start. So yes, and thank you to all of you.
From all of us at Brucemore, we wish you the best on this adventure. And you be sure to like, ring the bell, and subscribe. Join us next time, live from the Artisan Studio at Brucemore.